Well, it's the very last day of the year. Why are you doing that? You're on YouTube doing that? That's terrible. Why did you do that? That's silly.
Look fantastic.
Fancy being on YouTube sucking a baby's dummy.
Terrible.
That's awful. Why did you do it?
It's cute.
What's cute about it?
It's tasty.
What is it? Was it
It's
some
candy.
Kind oh, it's a kind of sweet, is it? Oh, I see. Well, it really does look stupid, actually. Sorry. Sorry and all that. Anyway, it's the last day of the year, as I was saying, and, well, you got jammed in the lift. Okay, come on. So as you can see, we're going for a walk with all the crew. It's unusual that we can all go out at once, but now that we've got the buggy, that we've got free time, it being the last day of the year and all. George isn't with us. George is actually, well, I saw Rena locking it. Irina locked it, so it means that we can all go, except George, who's not with us. He's off at a little camp. So there's me. There's me again in that thing. Sophie, Irina. Oh, somebody's left the computer out. I think that computer's open with a report that you're allowed to look at. Why they don't just do a printout like anybody else would? Maybe they're trying to do a paper-free arrangement.
It's not nice.
So we're like a band of gypsies going hot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people at once. You don't get people usually walking down the street 5 at a time, do you? These days. I wouldn't go that way. It means crossing the road twice when you could just cross it once.
Hey, that was my logic as well.
Well, every time you cross the road, you got just the chance that some idiot's going to not stop for you. There's somebody, for example, that can't even put their lights on, even though it's the law. He's just put them on while I spoke about it. Well, because he could see me filming or something. You've lost your dummy, just as well, really. You didn't really want to be seen outside doing that. So, everybody should go for like a family walk occasionally, where you go out like 4 or 5 people at once. Dwargy. She's got a long nose. She hasn't got a big nose. She's just got a long. Yeah, it's a long nose. Elongate.
It looks like it's like
a Ukrainian's nose, because they come from the part of Belarus which is not far from the Ukraine, so they get Ukrainian noses.
However, it doesn't look like December and January. The weather looks like September.
You've got your mother's
October.
nose, so you're a bit more lucky. Otherwise, you could end up with a duck-billed platypus thing as well. Okay.
George has your nose.
Yeah. Well, that's too small. My nose isn't big enough.
Tanya has this kind of a nose.
Yeah.
How does she have it?
Well, that's another Ukrainian nose, isn't it? It goes up at the end. It's not that the noses in the Ukraine are big, it's just they're rather long. Not every Ukrainian has it, but quite a lot more people in the Ukraine have it than anywhere else, I've noticed. That's why I call them Ukrainian noses. Nothing wrong with it. It's a feature. They also say that the Ukrainians have most beautiful women in the world, so it's presumably, you know, a long nose adds a certain degree of beauty to a woman, I suppose. What do they say in Russian? What, you've lost it again?
Yeah.
Why are you playing about with it?
I was just chewing the candy and then it fell.
So,
This is a boy which is mucking about.
which one? Which boy?
The one which was running around.
That one there, that idiot. Why's he got a Russian hat on?
I don't know.
It's not really a Russian hat because it's got like a lumberjack thing that's more of a Canadian hat. He looks like William Brown in the William Brown series. He'd be a very good candidate. They'd be a very good candidate to film William Brown and the Outlaws.
This is the moment, tonight is the night. It's over, like I can't hold on.
Do you want this film to get pulled for music?
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, listeners, it's a complete disgrace. Even Alan Heath was saying to me the other day that something which he'd put on YouTube's own suggested tracks so that you didn't get your film pulled, he'd put that on a few years ago, and then in the meantime the person that owned the music decided that it wasn't going to be available for being royalty free on YouTube anymore, and now you have to pay for it. So he got a copyright strike for something which YouTube had told him to put on in the first place several years ago, and of course no explanation. That's one of the musical chairs nonsenses that you get on YouTube. Another is, for example, I've got in the past situations where I've even composed and played my own piece, and Sony claimed it until I told them where to sling their hook. There was at least a method which gradually you get your music back if you claim it, and then somebody at Sony says, oh yeah, that's true, it's not ours, is it? In the meantime, IODA has started claiming copyright on just about every piece of. Let's be quite plain about this. I was so bothered about in the olden days. I used to use music which wasn't licensed because you'd get the waving finger at you, and somebody else's ad would go on your film. But nothing ever serious really used to happen. Occasionally you'd get films taken down completely because of it, or made invisible in Germany and things like that. But in the main it wasn't, a matter that you'd get in trouble for. But I decided that, okay, if I wanted to be like a partner, like have a bit of a very small affair, it's not worth doing it when it comes to it, but I wanted to know, I wanted to know if it was worth doing it or not. So I started sticking some ads on, and revenue stream. It's better than desomorphine, but in any event, I started to do music. License. I spent several $100s on licensed music from Smart Sound, and it's nothing wrong with Smart Sound. It's a good place to buy licensed music. That's where I get mine from. So for the last year or so, you'll notice that practically there aren't any non-licensed pieces, anything that I've made over the last at least year. Well, yours is, you licensed me to do it, right?
Yeah.
Well, there we are then, it's licensed.
But
So,
how did this piece go? How much? Where did I get?
Oh, you got a lot of viewers. You got about 500, even within the first month.
Whoa.
So, if anything comes from that advert, I'll give you the money. So anyway,
It's gonna go to my account.
yeah. So basically, it might be tuppence invested. Anyway,
Like YouTubers.
yeah. Anyway, I wanna get to the end of my thoughts, Sophie. Before you start hijacking my film. Basically, the thought goes like this. How does IODA, yeah, start making claims against all of these licensed pieces of Smart Sound that I've got recently in the China series and in the Bulgaria series? I've got one after another, unending stream of claims, and I have to keep writing. IODA has made a bogus claim again. This is the license number. I'm licensed. Yeah, they can't have it.
Can't have it.
They can't have it. So, well, you can. So, anyway, oh, Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh, that one there's quite nice. Bit more Santa Claus free, I like that.
Dad doesn't like Santa Claus.
No, I don't. I don't like him.
From the beginning, when I was little, he said that Santa Claus didn't exist.
Yeah.
Like from the beginning when everyone was saying, oh, Santa's gonna bring me this. Dad said that there's no Santa. He ruined my childhood.
Really? But I told you that Jesus did exist, and I told you that Santa didn't exist, because I told you the truth. Now you want to believe in Santa Claus, but you don't believe in Jesus. What is all that
I
about?
don't want to believe in Santa Claus. But from the beginning, you could have just given me
I told you the truth. From the
choice.
beginning, I told you the truth. I told you Santa Claus doesn't exist. I told you it's about Jesus. But the fact is, ladies and gentlemen, that of course Jesus was, well, Jesus was born in Sukkoth anyway, probably. That's what one rabbi told me.
There was one Santa Claus, but his name was Saint Nicholas. So,
Well, I don't care about that. He probably wouldn't. If there was any godly man in Turkey by that name, he probably wouldn't be interested. If he was a godly man, he wouldn't be interested in being a usurper or seen as a usurper of God. Same with Mary. You know, I can't imagine the biblical Mary being too delighted by the fact that a lot of people who ought to be praying to Jesus are praying to her instead and asking her to do it for them. If she could see all of that going on, it would upset her. That's why I don't believe she even sees it, because it would upset her in heaven. And why should she be upset in heaven? So I don't believe she even knows about it. So
you're doing vlogging.
yeah, I'm doing vlogging. That's right. But I've done
I want to become a vlogger like Shane Dawson and
Jules and
PewDiePie.
well, you play the piano like Les Dawson, so you can become a vlogger like Shane Dawson. How about that?
Who? I'm saying about Shane Dawson. He's doing his own parodies.
Yeah.
He's doing his own music, and he is really comical.
Yeah. Why not?
Funny.
Why not? Anyway, I'm just going to do a production meeting now. Hey, who's going to the food one and who's going to the non-food one?
I'm going with the non-food one.
Is that correct? I think you're going to Mummy.
But Irina's going to the food one.
Hang on, what's the strategy? Darling, take the earmuffs off. What's the strategy? I thought we had the strategy worked out yesterday. Da, I kto idzie z tobой? I Tanya z tobой идет? And who's going with me? Sophie? Sorry? Okay, alright then, so you're right, you got the right strategy. I'm still working on yesterday's strategy. The thing about my wife is she changes the strategy. Okay, so we're seeing each other back in the house then, effectively. Careful, careful, careful. Looks the guy's got no intention of stopping. He sees this idiot, yes, you idiot, I've got you on film. Sees the person going on in a disabled wagon and just thinks he can swing right on top of them with a disabled person in a wagon, a disabled child. And then on top of everything else, he's not happy. Somebody else is then pulling back onto them. I think that just the way that you've got these dash cams now, so that people driving cars have a 24/7 record of what happens to their car, especially when they're driving it, but even in some cases when they're not even driving it, even if somebody just walks around it, it switches on and makes sure if anybody touches it, switches on and records what's going on. That's pretty much what people need. I need that in my hat. I need that built into my hat. There's any time you can have idiots behaving idiotically is what they do, and you need a record of it for YouTube. I'm noticing in this light for the first time that the way the pastel houses over there look nice. 130 на 200, а этот большой не надо. 200 na 200. Okay. Right, that's enough then. Thanks for watching.